Hey, what's up, podcast? It's Jeff. Just want to jump in here. This is a special bonus episode of Teach Better Talk. This is actually going to be the audio recording from a Facebook Live that our team is doing every single day, Monday through Friday, at 8 a.m. Eastern Time in our Facebook private group. You can get in that group at teachbettergroup.com or go on to Facebook and just search Teach Better Team. You'll see our page and then you'll see the group. Get in there. So here we go, a special bonus episode of Teach Better Talk pulled from one of our Facebook Live videos in our private group at teachbettergroup.com. Hope you enjoy.
Good morning. Hey, everyone. Welcome to our daily drop-in that I am using a brand new program for. And look, Lindsay, it's totally working on my phone. We are streaming on multiple different places this morning, Monday morning, kicking off something new. Good for us. We're trying something, right?
There we go. It's the best way to do it. Just go for it.
You're totally right. So right now we're using StreamYard, which is fantastic, apparently. And we are actually streaming to Twitter, YouTube, and our Facebook, both our page and our group, fingers crossed maybe. Right. I really just care more than anything else that we are streaming to our group because that's usually where we go. But we decided to be a little rebellious today and go all over. So before we get started and all the fun stuff that we always get to be able to share in our daily drop-in that we do every single morning, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. But actually, guys, this is our last week. So this is our last Monday all together. Lindsay, will you kind of share a little bit? What do you do in education? You're an amazing guest with us this morning. We're so glad you're here.
Absolutely. Hey, everyone. Happy Monday. So my name is Lindsay Titus, and I am several different things as educators are. So I am a K-12 behavior specialist. Board certified behavior analyst working for a local school district where I live here in New York. So again, really working with teens, kindergarten through 12th grade, anything to do with behavior, I'm there. And outside of that, I am the founder of Define University, which is an educational platform really aimed at providing coaching and training to educators to really reignite their passion and help teachers really reconnect to their purpose. So my ultimate goal is that every teacher loves what they do inside and outside of the classroom. And to me, really changing our own behavior is how we get that done. So that's kind of what I do in the education realm.
Well, Lindsay, I was so excited not only to learn about what you're doing because we are newly connected and I have just been consuming all the great things that you're doing. But additionally, I was so glad that you joined us for this daily drop-in because a few weeks ago when we got connected, I feel like I found you on Instagram and then it's just been constant. You've been popping in so many different avenues, adding so much value to the Teach Better family. And so when I thought about being rebellious, doing this daily drop-in in a different forum, streaming to all these different platforms, I was like, Lindsay can handle it. She's a pro. She does so much to support educators that even if this doesn't go well, even if there's tech issues and whatever, like we are pro problem solvers. We're going to be just fine.
Absolutely. I really believe that you can't make a wrong decision. So about 6 months ago, a year ago, I said, you know what? There's no more right and wrong. There's no more good and bad. Any decision I make is better than no decision at all because I'm always learning. I'm always growing. So that's where we go with it.
I think that philosophy is so fitting, truly. Even just in the joke that we're having this morning of using a different platform to stream to our social media accounts, this is something I've been too nervous to do. This is a brand new tool for me. We go live all the time through other avenues. This is brand new. And you just gave me the courage to try something new this morning. And I love that. You're so wonderful. We are getting a lot of comments. I'm just so thrilled that people can hear us, that they can see us. While our daily drop-ins are usually extremely exclusive to our private Facebook group, Lindsay and I did decide to be a little rebellious today. We are streaming to both our page and our group in Facebook, and we are live on YouTube and Periscope, which is Twitter. And it's really wonderful to be able to see all these comments saying good morning. We have a lot of faces that have joined us every single morning that we've been able to do this daily drop-in since COVID-19 has added a new element to our normal lives, but also some new faces commenting in from Twitter and other places that can participate maybe for the first time in our daily drop-in conversation. We are using a program called StreamYard. I did see somebody asked about that. I've heard wonderful things. No, it's brand new. So glad it's going well. It's been very easy so far. So Lindsay, very early on, you were kind of sharing about yourself. You gave us a little bio background. Tell us a little bit more, like, how did your role change from what you were doing before maybe COVID-19 and what you're doing now?
Yeah, absolutely. So, and I want to hit just real quick on the new piece that you talked about, because I see this in educators so often. We create these definitions for ourselves, right? I'm a new teacher. I'm just a new teacher. And to that, I say new is just an arbitrary word that we attach to things. It's just because we haven't done it before. And I think it directly relates to the COVID-19, right? We're in a situation that we've never been before. So what often happens with behavior is we link to something we've done like it. We tell ourselves we'll get through it. We got through it then, we're going to get through it now. But this uncertainty of the situation, we don't have anything to connect with. So it is new. And so, but I always say, like, new doesn't have to be bad. New means growth. New means this expansion of opportunity in front of us. So I think it's just really important to hold into that. But so with that though, so my role was very much all over the place prior to COVID-19. I think the one thing that changed is I'm in one building, my house, for the whole day, whereas typically before I might be in 3 or 4 different schools in any given day. And I think obviously in the classroom support isn't necessarily happening. So my role was really a combination effect of trainings, even my own professional development to provide that to teachers, data collection, data analysis, and really just being a part of the team to really help teach behavior in ideally a fun and exciting way. Because a lot of people hear behavior, they're like, no, my goal is to make it as fun as it can be. And so since COVID-19 and we're home, really the avenues I've focused on is professional development for my teachers and families, and really just providing ongoing support in whatever way that looks like. So that might be a teacher reaching out that needs a resource, and I'm going to provide it. I started a weekly video training series for families where I do about a 5-minute video, just teaching on a topic, and then I give them some resources, letting them know I'm here for them. They've got it. Let me know how I can help, and really just using this time to kind of do more behind the scenes work that I don't often have the time to do, when I'm going between buildings. So it's been really cool to really research and find new innovative ideas that I'm excited to bring to my teams, such as a lot of things that the Teach Better team does, and really just to help kind of fine tune how I deliver content, how I provide that training, because I think training can happen in so many different modalities, so many different ways. And I think really for me, that's been the biggest shift. It's still related to behavior, but it's almost more of like the mindset to behavior as opposed to actual strategies, which has been really cool to dive into.
Well, and I want to get into some of those really specific elements because I know that you have an amazing background in all these pieces and you provide so much support for educators. I do want to give a little pause to say, if you're watching our daily drop-in on whatever platform you're currently watching this stream on, we are open to taking questions. You can ask Lindsay specifics maybe that you're struggling with. She has an amazing expertise in supporting students and especially talking about behavior. So this is a perfect opportunity for you to type in your question in the comments and have her actually give you some feedback to how to best support your students. We did have Holly made a wonderful comment saying that she's so sad that the Daily Drop-In is ending this week. Our last day for the Daily Drop-In is Friday, and it's a little bittersweet, Holly. I totally understand. So maybe we'll have to find a different way to kick off your morning with the right energy and tone. I think that's awesome that so many educators have kind of used this avenue to kick off their day. I know in a very foolish way, I'm going to embarrass myself a little bit, Lindsay. I usually kick off my day watching your Instagram stories. I'm usually a day behind because you post so much throughout the day, but you always give some sort of teaching, some sort of insight. And truly, before I get up and let the dogs out, I'm scrolling through Instagram and your stories always brighten my morning. There's always some tactical takeaway. And it's always great to kind of kick it off with a great message like that. Adam's commenting saying, I'm interested in knowing more about these lessons for families. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Absolutely. So I think anybody, that's familiar with behavior there, it's such this global concept, right? I mean, I'm still learning, and I myself have a license in the in the field. And so I really wanted a way to make it applicable to parents to understand this is what you're seeing, right? This is what the behavior is meaning. So what I did each week is I took what I was hearing from the teachers as challenges that parents were facing. And in all honesty, I have a 5-year-old at home too. So sometimes I didn't have to look very far. I just looked down the house to get my inspiration. And I created, so one example, so behavioral momentum is one of my absolute favorite behavioral terms. And all it really means is think of a snowball, right? We start simple. We start with mastered activities. We build on those, and then we present a harder, non-preferred, not mastered topic yet, right? It's easier to do the hard part if you've already felt successful. We know success and confidence comes together. So just what I shared there might be in a 3-minute video. This is what it looks like. I really try to give tangible. So when your kid does this is what it might look like. And then I provide a few resources in the email, 2 to 3 tops, nothing more than that, about where, if they're interested, they can learn more about behavioral momentum. Or if I couldn't find something, I created it. So they had kind of a 1-page little cheat sheet, little guide, examples, and I just did it based on a variety of topics. So engaging, I took engagement and I broke it down. 1 week I did schedules and the different types of schedules. 1 week I did visuals and how to make visuals at home with something as simple as a whiteboard. So I really just tried to break it down and provide that. And I've had really good feedback from parents, but it's also that combination. I did video and text, which is something I know you share a lot about that you do with your students and families too.
Yeah, I love that. Truly, I'm listening to you and I'm like, I do some of these pieces. I could do more. I think your opportunity to teach your parents about something, teach your family something, and then also provide them next step resources if they want to go further. I don't do that. I should do that in my videos, not only in my video emails that I'm sending to families, but give them the little bits of information, give them something that they can say, I feel like I've learned something. This is a helpful strategy. But then also, if they want to explore more, if they have the time, why not give them more of an avenue to be an expert in some of these concepts and feel more secure with utilizing the strategies you're providing them? Genius. I love that. Dave Schmitto says, Lindsay, I've heard from some teachers who say some of our struggling kids are spending extra time at home now getting bad habits reinforced. What can we do to be proactive about this? Any ideas there?
In all honesty, the first thing that comes to mind is they very well may, right? Like, I think it's part of it is owning what is happening, absolutely. And I think, again, it's how do we define what a bad habit is? Who is it a bad habit for? Is it a bad habit for me as the teacher, or is it a bad habit for you as the student, right? And so I think breaking it down, 1, it very well will happen. And 2, what does it look like? And then 3, we be prepared in the best way. So if we know, and this is where I think knowledge is key. If I know that it's happening, what steps can I take now? Maybe it's daily emails or whatever way, seesaw messages, however you're interacting with that student to say, I'm still here for you. I care about you. I can't wait to see you in the fall. You're not addressing that habit, because again, if I tell a student change this habit, it's coming from that like power struggle lens. But if I'm just showing up authentically, I'm saying, I'm here for you. We're going to do this. And then I think when we look ahead to fall, we're looking at really bouncing back. We're getting back into that. We've got to be aware so that we can really hit the ground running of this is where we are, but this is where we're going to get to. And my job as your teacher is we're going to take all these small steps. I don't care how small this step takes, right? Gradual is different than slow. So even if we're going gradually, we're making progress forward every single day. But I think it's our own mindset, our own awareness that it is going to happen. It's not an if. It is going to happen. I don't think my daughter's gotten dressed in the last 3 weeks. I mean, that she changes her pajamas, no worries, guys. But I mean, that could be a bad habit, right? But is that something I'm worried about right now? Absolutely not. And so I think it's just, we have to look at how we're defining those things, and that it's an it, or it's when, not an if, and really just preparing ourselves in the best way we can.
There were so many like moments. I don't mean to be ignorant, but there were so many moments in there that I'm like, whoa, mind blown. I want to dive so much deeper into that. So the two specifically that are just so top of mind right now was this idea of who is this a bad habit for? And the second is, if you know that it's happening, what can you do to be proactive in supporting the student in some way? Because if we know what's going on, then either we can put things in place right now, or we can put things in place in August or whenever to help our students with this time. So talk to me a little bit about bad habits and who they're for. I think that was really an interesting thought process. Is this a bad habit for me as the teacher, a bad habit for the student, a bad habit for the family? Can you give us some examples on how we can discern certain things that we maybe feel very strongly about, and how we can identify, is this just a me thing, or is this also detrimental for the student?
I think it really has to, this is where we want to think ahead, but then bring it back to the present moment. So what is the ultimate goal, right? If it's a lesson, if it's a math lesson, I'll just say, to keep it easy. And my end goal, I'll pick one of my daughters, to be able to count to 100. All right. So that's the end goal, to count to 100. Now, a bad habit may be that she starts counting in a baby voice, right? It's annoying. It's annoying as all get out, but it's annoying for me as mom. It's not annoying for her. She's showing me the skill. So I have to be able to kind of differentiate or really, I guess, understand, is it going to impact her counting to 100? She's got the skill. So, okay, so it's annoying for me. So I can still talk to her about it. I think this is where we get wrapped up in. Even if it's a challenge for me, I can still address it, but I've got to address it from my lens. I've got to say, hey, when you talk like that, it really makes my ears hurt. It's really it's really not a nice sound, whatever it might be, but it really has nothing to do with her. Right. And so I think I ask myself that literal question, is this annoying to me? Or is it annoying to the student, is annoying to the class? Because I think it is important. It's not to say that we aren't going to address it, but the way in which I address it is going to change based on who's being impacted. To me, again, I don't love the word, bad habit, but it's an impactful habit. It's to the negative sense if it's keeping them from obtaining that end objective, that long-term goal. If they can still get there, but maybe it's impacting them socially or emotionally, I'm still going to address it, but it's going to be a different viewpoint. I'm going to paint a different picture than if it's related to an academic objective. Does that make sense?
1,000% over. I'm like totally eating this up. I'm trying to stay very professional on camera, but I feel like I should be taking notes right now, guys, because I love, this is so what I needed this morning. So I feel like this kind of connects in its own way to the same way that we discuss mastery learning, and we discuss giving students different opportunities to prove mastery, because it's really about, can you identify that end goal? Can we give feedback based on that end goal? And can we kind of set aside the other things? Not to say that we won't address them, not to say that, but it's not necessarily what we're focusing on right in this moment. And I think that your additional comment of, it doesn't mean you can't address them, it just means you're going to address them from a different lens. That is the biggest feedback I get when we talk about restorative practices is, it means that, you're never correcting the kid. And you're like, whoa. You're still giving other bits of information to the child. You're still giving feedback. But when it comes to what you're initially trying to solve, you're just keeping your lens really clear. I think this whole thing is very interesting because it applies to behavior, it applies to mastery learning, it applies to the entire element of how we can support the whole child,
Yeah, absolutely. And I get that feedback all the time, especially with behavior. You're letting him or her get away with it. You're letting them, do these things. And I'm like, actually, I believe I'm doing the opposite. I'm hearing them first. I'm hearing what they're saying. I'm hearing them loud and clear. I'm hearing that something is not right.
Right.
But I don't want to be the rescuer. I don't want to come in as the educator and quote unquote fix, because kids don't need to be fixed. Items get fixed. Kids we build connection with. And I believe if I just go in and rescue and solve and do it for them, I'm doing actually the opposite of an educator. I'm not teaching, I'm doing. And so for me, I need for them to recognize that this, while it might be solving their problem, and it actually is, because otherwise they wouldn't do it, there might be, and there probably is, a simpler, more efficient, more effective way to have that same need met. But I can't do that when they're elevated. I can't do that when they've just engaged in a behavior because they're this heightened or this elevated. We've got to wait till they come down, and then we have a conversation about it. And that conversation is a lot more impactful when you've got trust and connection in your back pocket, which comes from the daily steps we do to show our students that we care about them.
It's so powerful. And I know I'm not only the one that's getting value from this. There's so many comments asking more questions, following up on these things. Dave specifically is jumping in saying so many quotes to steal this morning. He's talking about that gradual is different than slow. That was a great concept that you shared on before, where you were talking about how you would implement something. We have another person that commented here and says, yes, we also need to partner with parents and families to help develop good habits in the students that are positive for students and families and the teacher. So Holly was kind of sharing on this idea that we need to be educators not only for our students, but also for our parents. Erin is jumping in here saying, thank you. I love that idea. We can only control what we can control, and we can control how we support. That's a wonderful element of things that you've given some feedback on. I love this. Annoyance is so much harder to handle than a lack of mastery. I love that you brought that onto the surface. That's so wonderful. So many different things here. As we are kind of diving into all these different concepts today and you're watching, please remember, Lindsay's not only here to share on all the things that our conversations pop up from, but also if you have a specific instance that you want to ask, you can comment in the comments and we'll be here to support you. I do love that people are quoting you. You've had so many good one-liners, but one of my favorites that somebody just threw in here said, kids don't need to be fixed. And isn't that the truth? So powerful. Adam jumped in and said, I've had students turn in work at 1:30 a.m. independently. It worked for them, but then I had a little discussion about the ways to get work done. Now they're working during the day with more assistance. So is that a habit that Adam is teaching that you can support? Is that something that affects this teacher and the student? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think, and it sounds like, reading that, it sounds like he's doing it in the collaborative way, right? So I think that's where it all boils down to. I love contingencies, I love really, so right now, and that's what I would do with the student, right? And it sounds like very similar. So right now you're getting your work done, but it's happening at 1:30. So I'm wondering this, right? I'm wondering, when are you sleeping? I'm wondering, what are you doing during the day, and, time management, because again, it's more about, to me, it's less about the lesson and more about the skill. What skill am I learning through the lesson? Because a lesson can change. It's going to change every day, right? Especially in some of our curriculums, it does change every day. And our kids' minds are like, wait, what? I just figured that out. Now we're doing this. And so the lesson is going to change, but the skill, and I think hopefully we all agree that there's so much more skill than just the academic skill, right? There is time management. I mean, I struggle with time management as an adult. So of course I'm going to teach it earlier, struggle with, emotional regulation. Of course we're going to teach it, all those things, organization, all the executive functioning pieces. And so, one way you could say is, well, don't do your work at 1:30. It's got to be during this time. But that's going to lead to power struggle, because I'm saying this, you're saying that, and now we're in conflict. Whereas instead, when you build that contingency with the student, do you like staying up? Like, how is that going to be when we return? What is that going to look like? I'm concerned that you're building this habit that maybe is going to be really hard to undo. What would it take to maybe, how can I help you rearrange your schedule, or how can I help you during the day so we get back on track? Neither, in the second way, you haven't said anything's wrong. You haven't said anything needs to change. but you're asking them to really kind of reflect on this practice that they're setting up. And is it something they can sustain when we're back in school?
Well, and I think that's so interesting because everything you've said is really the educator striving to understand before correct, right? Yeah. So it's this hope that we can fully understand where the student's coming from, why the action's happening, to then be able to provide some sort of education to help or change the situation. Because if we all just assume certain things and we don't strive to understand the student's story or the background and whatever's going on, then we're not nearly going to get as far. As you said before, it's a power struggle that becomes an issue in the classroom or in our virtual classrooms right now that you can avoid simply by understanding what the student is going through.
Yeah, absolutely. And that piece, that mindset piece is huge, right? It's not should, right? One of my, I'm a quote person. So anyone that's new to me, that's just me. Get out of shouldville is literally one of my taglines because I lived there for years. The notion of I should do this, they should do that, he should do this, right? He should do his work during the day. And my thing is, yeah, and what are we going to do about it? Because he's not, right? So it's, again, I can, where am I prioritizing my energy? I don't think there's an educator out there that isn't exhausted by the end of the day. And so if I want to create more energy throughout the day, I've got to prioritize the energy of where I'm spending it. So if I'm spending it in shouldville or all these things that I really can't control, what does it look like then if I say, okay, he should have this skill, but he doesn't for some reason. So what can I do about it? How can I reteach it? How can I present it in a new way? How can I help him see how this relates to that, cause and effect? What part of it can I, because then I'm creating that connection in a way where I'm showing up authentically to say, I care about you. I'm going to help you through this. Let's do it together versus you need to do this because fill in the blank, because that doesn't get us anywhere.
I love this. And I was thinking in my mind, I'm like, oh, Lindsay, you need to come live with me every morning. We could just have endless conversations about this. And then I'm like, wait, I do actually get to learn from you every single morning because I follow your Instagram stories and you give so many of these tips and strategies in that platform constantly. You're constantly sharing little nuggets of information that educators can go implement right away for their students. Is Instagram like your favorite platform? Like, how do you, what is it? I mean, right now we're streaming to Facebook and Twitter and YouTube, and I want to kind of give our listeners an avenue to connect with you. And I want to make sure we direct them to the one that you share maybe the most on or the one you're most comfortable with.
Yeah, it really is. Instagram is my is my favorite place to be outside of all the actual places. My favorite virtual place to be. And so you can find me there. It's at lindsay.titus828. And I do about over a year ago now, I started doing those stories, and every morning, and it all started because I was afraid to be on camera. I didn't like to be on camera. I didn't like to, be in a stationary photo, let alone be active and do those things. And so 2019 was my year of commitment. I said, you know what? I'm committing to me. I'm committing to being the best version of myself I can be. And one way I knew to do that was just to start storying. And so it started, and I was like, I'll do it for a month, and then I'll do it for 2 months. And then, like you said, I get really good feedback from it. And people tell me it starts their day off on the right foot. And to me, if you start your day on the right foot, that's your momentum. That's going to carry you through the day. If you start your day like exhausted and not loving who you are and what you do, that's going to continue. So if I can be a piece of that, if I can provide that ripple effect and that you then have a smile on your face, which means who you interact with is going to have a smile on their face, then that's what I do. That's why I do it. And so we're over a year now, and Monday through Friday, I do these daily messages that are about 2 minutes long and just are meant to kind of give you that pep in your step. And like you said, a quick tangible tip to take. And then in my feed, I focus again on more of that either like education, giving. I love doing like the top 3 of a given topic, or just some inspiration, because I think we all need that. Like I said, my goal is to have every educator fall back in love with being an educator, really finding the relief from that overwhelm. There is overwhelm, but there can be relief, and we can reignite that passion, reconnect to our purpose And to me, we do it the simple and easy way, because if it's complex, we won't do it.
You're right, 100%. I have to ask, I'm going to kind of put you on the spot. Why did you choose Instagram as the platform of your choice? And the reason I ask is because I have educators. Some of them are participating live with us. Some of us might catch this video afterwards. This also becomes a bonus episode of Teach Better Talk podcast. So there's a lot of different places where educators are going to not only learn so much from you, but also kind of resonate with this, that people reach out and they say, I want to get on social media. I don't really know what platform to choose. And being somebody who's on multiple platforms, I find so many pros and cons of all of them. And I think that you almost have to choose whichever one connects with you most. So why did you choose Instagram as the one that you're going to share all these strategies for?
It's honestly a really good question. And I don't, I think it's the one that it's going to sound really funny coming from a behavior analyst. That's the one that just naturally felt easy for me to use. I understood it. I was, when I pull up my phone, it's like where my finger went first, right? It's like the app that I went to. And I don't, and I think I've had it less time than Facebook. I recently joined the Twitter scene, so I'm still trying to figure that one out. I think Twitter's hard for me because as you can tell, I always have a lot to say. So it's really hard for me to streamline my captions to, however many characters. And I post, or I copy over a lot of the things I post on Instagram into Facebook. But I think it's just that natural. I just felt called to it. It was easy for me to understand. I understood how, just the mechanics, how to post, how to do this, how to caption, how to do that. And I think, from a behavior standpoint, that is really crucial, because if we force ourselves to do things, think of our kids. If we force it, you have to write the paper in this way, using this lingo, or else you're not gonna get credit. Versus we give them voice and choice in the classroom. How much easier is that? Right. And you mentioned so at social media platforms, we've all got choice to which one we want to choose. So I think that ability of giving students and let them, where are they called to? Where is their passion? Where are they excited? I think our strengths lead to our solutions and our deficits lead to resentment. I don't love Twitter because it makes me have to, say less. So I'm less likely to go there. Instagram and Facebook give me, a ton of room for captions. So I'm more likely to go there. So I guess in a long-winded answer, that's why it was easy for me. And I think it's really important to go where you're called, go where your strengths are, because that's where you're going to find your solutions.
Yeah, I asked for a selfish reason as much as so many people here have asked my opinion of choosing the right platform. I myself am struggling with it all the time. I kind of use the platforms for very different things. And so you should know, I love Instagram. In terms of I try and share stories frequently. I don't really post as much as I should, but I like the story feature. And to be honest, I share this balance of educators I really love learning from, being one of them truly. And then I follow a lot of non-educational things on my own feed. It's kind of like my escape from education. I'm finding that I'm using Instagram to look at art and photography and things that are truly like my brain break from education. And yet Twitter is like education hardcore. I've made so many amazing connections with educators from Twitter. It's all Twitter all day. I don't follow anyone that's not an educator on Twitter. And yet it's funny because you're trying to find this balance of at what time and place throughout your day, when you're either eager to learn or eager to share, which one do you choose? And I think that your connection of sometimes sharing the same thing on multiple platforms, I fall into all the time, because I might be sharing something on Instagram and I get excited and it's fun to do a video. And then I'm like, everything I just said, I need to somehow transfer over to Twitter to share that same message with a different PLN, because it's truly completely different networks, depending on what platform you choose.
Absolutely.
So Lindsay, we've been live for 33 minutes. We've had a lot of comments. I really have enjoyed streaming to multiple platforms, just because it was cool to try that this morning And also, I'm so glad that we were able to share your message with a wider audience. It's so important. We're not streaming to Instagram, but I think we should eventually figure that out, because that would have been a good addition for us. If there was one takeaway that you wanted all of our viewers to learn from, I mean, we've consistently had a ton of educators not only listening, but truly participating in this conversation. What are you hoping that as they kind of start their morning and leave this video, what are you hoping for them to learn from you?
Yeah, absolutely. For me, it comes down to the word awareness. I think when we talk about behavior change, whether it's in ourselves or with our students, really becoming aware of what I can control and change, which in all honesty is me. There's the quote, right? My effort, my attitude is what I can control. And so I think I really coach and train on three main things. We've got to have the mindset, we've got to use the language, and we have to take the right action. So those three things together help us connect to who we are, so I can then connect to everybody in my environment. And I think when it comes to awareness, it's really being present in the moment to ask yourselves those questions. Am I aware of what I'm doing? What am I thinking? What am I feeling? Right? If a student is having a behavior, I'm thinking the same thing. Are they aware of what they're thinking, what they're feeling, what they're doing? Because if they're not, if I have a sense of they're not, or they tell me they're not, then I know where to go with it. Then I know where to teach them. But it's not about, even as a behavior analyst, I'm not changing anybody's behavior. I'm changing my own. I'm changing the environment. I'm changing the situation. I'm changing maybe some of the triggers, but I'm not trying to change them. Only the person can do that. But I think it all starts with awareness. If I'm not aware, and I think for educators, we are go, 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 right? We are so used to being the Energizer bunnies. We are like, all right, sure, one more thing. Yeah, another hat, I got it, right? We've got 20 hats on top. So awareness sounds so simple, and it is simple and easy, but it doesn't mean it's not hard at the beginning. Because in order to be aware, I've got to slow down. I've got to slow down to where I can really say, this is what I'm doing. I'm here, I'm committed, I'm intentional with what I'm doing, because then I can move forward. But what often happens is we've got 10 tabs open, we're answering this email and this text, and we're doing that. And so I think the one thing to walk away with is ask yourself throughout the day, am I aware of what I'm doing in this moment? Am I committed to reflecting in this moment? Because that's going to bring me forward to the future moments ahead.
I love that. Oh, so many good takeaways from that. Before we end, I really would love if you could speak to your university that you share a lot of different places and resources for.
Yeah, absolutely. So Define University came from really not knowing who I was. As an educator, I got lost in shouldville. I got lost in, I should do this. And I didn't mention, so I taught, prior to doing all the behavior things I do, I taught self-contained kindergarten through second grade for 5 years. And it was so hard. And because I was trying to be somebody different for everybody else. So I was trying to be this teacher for that kid and this teacher for that kid. And when I taught, I saw the veteran teacher down the hall. I tried to do everything they did. And I never actually figured out who is Lindsay as an educator. Mm-hmm. And so Define You is all about just that. It's defining who you are as an educator, because I truly believe our story, where we come from, our experiences are our superpower. And that is how we connect. That's how we bring authenticity into the classroom. And so it's my way of helping educators really find that relief, get rid of the overwhelm, and reignite that passion. And so through that, I do group coaching, I do one-on-one coaching, and I have a podcast through there where I just share my heart and soul each week, and really looking to, just to keep expanding that. I have a monthly membership that is my goal to create just a collective community of educators where we can connect virtually and support one another in whatever's going on a variety of topics. And it's just my way of giving back to the community to say, it's okay, it's more than okay to be who you are, because that's exactly the teacher, the educator, the administrator that your students, your staff, your colleagues need you to be. And I want you to love who you are so that you can really go from questioning who am I as an educator and truly owning who I am as an educator. And that's what Define You is really all about.
If people want to find out more, where can they kind of navigate through joining all those amazing supports?
Absolutely. So I do have, for basic level on Facebook, I do have a Facebook group. Just search Define University. And university is Y-O-U, university. And then also my website, which is just www.defineuniversity.com. And it shares there all the different ways you can connect. And then, of course, just message me. Connection is one of my favorite things. So you can message me on Facebook. It's just Lindsay Titus, or again on Instagram at lindsay.titus828.
Yeah, I know it's really easy to navigate to. That website was super easy. I'm glad you made it simple for people, but I do have to say, I know you can get there from your Instagram profile. So if you get lost or you lose any of those details, look her up on Instagram. It's right there on her profile, super easy to find. So no matter how you get involved, go get involved, because I think the more we can not only become better educators by incorporating strong instructional strategies and best practice, we also need to couple that with all the elements that come with supporting that whole child behavior and everything in between. So Lindsay, everything you've shared today, all of that has been so valuable. We did just have another comment come in that I do want to address before we go. So if you have any final comments for Lindsay, outside of obviously reaching out to her after our daily drop-in concludes, please feel free to post them here. We'll try and get to as much as possible. And then we'll all get ready for our wonderful Monday morning. I don't know about you, Lindsay, but it's pouring rain here. It's been raining for 3 days. So I wish it was a beautiful Monday, but not if you're in Illinois.
It's about the same here.
Bummer. Okay. Well, hopefully gloomy Monday is still wonderful if you've started off your morning with our daily drop-in. This comment looks like it is from Nicole, and it says, I would love to get that place and mindset as an educator. How do you rationalize not being all those variants of teachers for those individual students? So this is going back to what you were talking about when you were in the classroom and trying to be a different educator for each and every student. She's asking, how do you rationalize not being able to do that, because that's an impossible task to maintain?
Yeah, absolutely. And it came with work, right? As so many things do. It took me really unpacking who am I? What are the values that I stand for as an educator? What is my mission as an educator? What are my standards, right, as a person? So a couple of standards I live by is that I live in the land of gratitude and celebration. I live in that I am exactly the teacher my students need me to be. I live in the land of any decision is better than no decision. Things like that have become standards. So whoever I'm interacting with, I'm not, it's that notion of I'm in control of what I say yes to and what I say no to. It's always me. And I had to really unpack who that is. And so I did a lot of the inner work to realize why was I becoming, this person here? And it's the easiest way I can explain it is, you ever been in a good mood and then you go talk to someone that's not in a good mood and all of a sudden you're like, now I'm Debbie Downer myself, right? So taking on all that emotion, well, I had to learn how to stand strong and that it's okay that I'm in a good mood, even if someone else is hurting. Doesn't mean I'm going to be all sunshine and roses and like that, but I'm going to be empathetic. I'm going to understand. But I'm going to keep my whole goal is that if I'm up here and someone's here, I want them to rise with me. I don't want to fall down to where they are. And it's the same thing with students. So I think it was really important that I interact with people differently all the time, but who I am in here is absolutely the same person. And it's that person that is grounded in everybody's doing the best they can with what they have, where they're at. And it's grounded in, I aim to do better today than yesterday. I learn through the day to grow into tomorrow. So for me, that's kind of, I could talk about that for hours, but ultimately that's what it is. I had to know that who I was bringing was who I felt good bringing, not that I was trying to be somebody for someone else.
Lindsay, I have learned more in this daily drop-in than I have in the past 5 days doing all the work that I'm doing. I don't know how. I know this is only the beginning of the support that you're not only providing for educators, but hopefully the work that you're doing with the Teach Better team as well. I've just loved all your insight, all your tips and tricks. And I'm excited to not only dive into the resources that you currently have, but I just can only imagine the work that you're going to continue to do over the next few months, few years, and everything in between to support educators in this mindset. I think that you just have such a wonderful presence. You just suck people in, and I love that element. I know that we are concluding our video now, but please, if you are listening, whether it be during our recording or after the fact as a bonus episode of Teach Better Talk podcast, don't forget that you can connect with Lindsay in a lot of different ways and connect with the team, which also truly believes in so many elements that Lindsay shared. Lindsay, you've been the best guest this week. I so appreciate you.
Thank you so much.
For those of you that are just popping in, as a reminder, our daily drop-ins are ending this week. We're so sad, but we do have something very special planned for Friday, which will be our last day, coming live with you at 7 a.m. Central, 8 a.m. Eastern. Do not forget, though, outside of these drop-ins, the team is doing so many other things to support you. Lindsay is doing so many things to support you. So do not choose to be isolated in terms of connecting with others, even if you're connecting with them virtually. I know we are all physically distancing from one another, but there's so many places to learn, stay connected, question, and have your brainstorming team alongside you. So Lindsay, thank you again. And we're going to say goodbye to our amazing group, but appreciate all the work that you do. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much.